Yes, welcome to the Vanguard Show. Today we have a Vanguard Show special with William Cordova, a contemporary cultural practitioner, revolutionary activist, and artist rather. And also we have Byron Booth, international Black Panther Party member in Cuba and Algiers. And we definitely want to bring them on to talk about this book, The Odyssey of Byron Booth, as told to William Cordova. And I'm looking forward to definitely speaking with them about this incredible book. And let me bring them on stage. Comrades, can you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Okay, how about you, Brother Byron?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, I want to thank both of you for coming on my show today. Definitely look forward to the interview. And I want to give a special acknowledgement to John Bunchy Creer rather, for connecting me and William down in Miami, as well as Brother Billy X. Jennings and our mutual friend, Brother Carlton, Miami Central alumni, and certainly he, like William, is a fellow Miamian. So again, I want to thank both of you for coming. Both of you are new to my platform, so I want to kind of see if you guys could give me a brief summary of who you are, what you're known for, and how the book collaboration came about.
Okay,
And I'll
Byron.
start. Can you hear me?
I can hear. Okay, Byron, can you hear?
Okay, I can hear you.
There's a lapse of time there.
Okay, all right. Might be a Wi-Fi issue, but yeah, basically, if you could just kind of give my audience just a brief summary of who you are for both of you, and how you got involved in this book.
Can you hear, Byron?
Byron, can you hear? Can you hear? Byron, can you hear me? Just raise your hand if you could hear. It looked like his screen is paused. But just give a brief summary as we bring, maybe brother could come back out and come back in. Yeah, just give a brief summary of who you are, what you're known for, and how the collaboration came about for the book.
Okay. Well, um, I'm a contemporary artist. There's Byron popping up. Byron.
Yes.
Hi.
Okay, I can hear it.
Okay. Hey, Byron, you want to go first?
Okay, no problem. The question is, what am I known for? That's a good question because in different places I'm known for different things.
Okay.
In the United States, I'm known as an escaped felon, airplane hijacker, and a member of the international staff of the Black Panther Party. In Nigeria, where I spent many years, I was known mainly as a businessman, as a senior police officer, and briefly a member of the military intelligence section. Outside of that, I was known as, in Algeria, I was known as a freedom fighter and a member of the Black Panther Party. What else you want me to add to that? That's what I'm known for.
Okay, well that's pretty good on its own, to be honest with you. And then William, same question to you. Just tell the people a little bit about you, and both of you, after William talks, just kind of let everybody know how you guys came together for this book collaboration.
Sure. I'm a contemporary artist and mostly known for that, and exhibiting in the U.S. and internationally. But I also work doing graphic design for activist purposes. And I've been researching and studying the Young Lords Party, the Black Panther Party, American Indian Movement, since 2005. And when I started a residency at Student Museum in Harlem, that's when I first met some New York Panthers, mostly Puerto Rican Panthers I wasn't aware of. And that's when I first became aware of Byron's story at the Schomburg Center for Research. One of the Black Panther newspapers, some of the articles from '69. But I wasn't aware of Byron being with us still up until 2017. Mind you, the internet was very different in 2004, 2005. So there wasn't a lot of resources yet for me to find out that Byron was living in LA at the time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. And first of all, when did both of you? How did you get aware of William Cordova? Did William reach out to you and wanted to know your story to eventually collaborate on this book?
Yes, he did. I think 2017, he telephoned me, said he would like to meet with me, talk with me. So we met a year after that. At first, I was a bit flattered that an artist would want to talk to me about my past, about my life. I didn't consider it as a big thing, but after we got to talking and I got to looking into some of his work and what he was doing, I was kind of blown away that an artist of such repute would even come to me with this. I mean, William is well known and he does fantastic work. And I was just so surprised that he would come to me and want to write a book about me. So I agreed. And everything went from there. And I think since then we've become pretty good friends. Would you say otherwise, William?
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember meeting Byron in late 2017 through the article by Michael Krikorian online about Byron, about him meeting Byron and getting to know his story, his life story. And then he published it. And that's when I realized that Byron was living in LA. And I contacted the journalist, Michael. He put me in touch with Byron. We spoke and immediately flew to LA in the following year, January of 2018. And we met in LA for a couple of days. We talked, interviewed 4 to 8 hours, kept that going through phone conversations and through a collaboration with Tiggy Schmidt, who is a friend of mine in LA, who did more interviews with Byron. And that's pretty much what started it. But at the same time, I was doing the interview with Byron. Byron said, well, why are you doing this for? You know, just asking me in different ways to see if I'm consistent with my response. And then during the conversation, he said, well, why don't you publish this? I said, yeah, that makes sense. Because up to that point, what I had been doing is interviewing a lot of Panther alumni and Young Lord alumni, I would say since '05, and archiving their stories, transcribing, but not necessarily publishing them. Basically creating a repository of their stories. And this would be the first publication that we worked on together. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right, and also, you know, of course, there are different people get motivated by different things or get inspiration. In terms of both of your journeys, what was the motivating factor toward the activism, toward revolution, toward revolutionary art. And I'll go with Byron first, just to say what motivated you to get involved and be a part of revolutionary struggle in the world, really.
What motivated me? Look, I was doing time in prison. Um, I wasn't happy with the society I was living in at the time. Um, I'm part of a minority group that was being oppressed. Um, Being in prison, I could see I didn't really have any future in the U.S. Being an ex-felon, um, with limited education, uh, no finances, resources. Um, my future from prison didn't look very good. Um, in addition to that, I wasn't very interested in having a future within the United States. So when I was sent to Soledad Prison, 5 years to life for armed robbery, uh, first thing I did was look at the fences and the gun towers and start plotting an escape. The escape I was plotting wasn't just to escape prison and be somewhere in the US, but to escape and get out of the US. At that time, I was an avid reader of Mao Zedong, Che Guevara, Jose Marti, Engels, Marx, Lenin, a number of revolutionary writers and thinkers. So my concept was to get away from the US and do what I could do to change the nature of the system in the US. While in Soledad, I became friends with a number of people who were very revolutionary in their thought. L. Prentice Carter was one. Eldridge Cleaver was another. Spain, I could go on and on. We start thinking, what could we do to advance the situation of Black people in the United States? At that time, the civil rights movement of Martin Luther King started expanding. Black people were getting beat with billy clubs, sicked on by dogs, being shot, stomped on. This infuriated all of us. We couldn't understand why people would protest and allow themselves to be beat. Martin Luther King called it a nonviolent movement. So did Mahatma Gandhi call it nonviolent. But that movement in itself produced our form of thinking of meeting violence with violence, or even more violence. So this whole concept of the Black Panther Party started on the street with Huey Newton, but it also started in prison too. And there was, you get so many people thinking this thing. We're not pledging to a central idea. So many of us had different concepts on how to approach this. Basically, the Black Panther Party, in my viewpoint, was a reformist movement. It wanted to reform the society, the government, the way people looked at Black people. It still wanted to be part of the system. I didn't want no part of the system. I wanted to see the system removed and replaced with a better system. So by the time I made my escape from Soledad, I was more or less following the concepts and ideas that I had read about of Ernesto Che Guevara. I escaped from prison, hijacked an airplane, getting to Cuba, hoping that I would be able to meet Che Guevara in Cuba. Unfortunately, when I got there, he had already left. And Fidel wasn't about to send anybody else after him to meet him. So I was stuck in Cuba for a while. And that's where I ran into Eldridge Cleaver. He insisted that I was a member of the Black Panther Party and insisted I should help and assist the party in Cuba, which I did. William, you want to add anything here?
Well, yeah, that's a very little known part of the history of the Black Panther Party, where Byron became the Minister of Defense in Cuba under Eldridge, where they tried to establish a Black Panther chapter in Cuba. And local Cubans called it La Casa de las Panteras, the Panther House. so many Panthers coming in and out. Some more Panthers who had to hijack planes. Some were not Panthers who became Panthers in Cuba through Eldridge at the time. This is during the spring of 1969. Byron arrived end of January 69. Eldridge had arrived Christmas Day, 1968, December. And so the La Casa de las Panteras was there basically around that time until June, when Eldridge left for Algiers. There was approximately 9 Panther members working with Eldridge at the time in Cuba. And they slowly left from Cuba to Algiers at that time. By the end of the summer, they were everyone that had been working with Eldridge at the time were in Algiers, except for maybe 3 members who stayed in Cuba. Yeah.
Okay. And also, William, since you're on, I just want to kind of see what brought you on your journey before we get into the meat of the book. What brought you on your journey in terms of art, activism, revolution? What was the motivating factor behind your journey?
Well, all those are the ingredients, I think, that motivated me. I don't separate them. Activism, art, politics, transformation, and alchemy. Basically, for me, are the first things that I was introduced to growing up in Peru, in Lima, Peru. We learned through example. And in the 1970s, the Black Panther Party was very influential in South America. And we were exposed to the Panther Party. My oldest brother was definitely through political murals in Peru. And then I left a big impression on me. Coming to the States, I became more aware of it, more directly aware. In Miami, going to Afro Books and Things in Liberty City. So I just became more oriented in American history. Whereas in Peru, I was familiar with specific strategies and programs that the Black Panther Party had influenced in South America. For example, breakfast program, things like that. There's just a variety of things that influenced us. Of course, Emory Douglas's art was very influential in South America. It influenced my brother to do murals in Lima, activist murals at the time. There's during the what people call the Cold War period in South America, but it wasn't very cold. It was actually pretty hot down there in terms of warfare. None that which is properly represented, I think, when we speak of Cold War in terms of history in the U.S. and we only see films like Rambo, things like that, which is, stuff, fantasy. Anyway, that was my introduction. Reading early Mao, Ernesto Che Guevara, the same, Fanon. This is autobiography of Malcolm X. This is, of course, in the U.S. Yeah, so that would be my introduction. My introduction, I would say, I had many origins, as KRS would say about hip hop, had many origins.
Okay, right on. Right on. I do want to ask about this book in terms of the narrative that you got from Brother Byron, in terms of sitting down, talking with him, and then the illustrations, and then the historical picture. How did this come about in terms of collecting so much, archives and pictures, notes? I mean, it's a very detailed book. Explain that process, and obviously speaking with Brother Byron, and then collecting all the historical documents that's in this book. It's amazing. Tim, talk about that.
Well, in meeting Byron and speaking to him about his story, his points of references are all over the world. Every place he's gone to, all his influences, it's people he's met, organizations he belongs to. Very few human beings have that experience. I needed to contextualize all of this because he might be talking about Eldridge 1 minute, then he's talking about Fela Kuti, and people may not know who Fela Kuti is. And so I needed to contextualize almost every step that he was taking forward in his narrative. And that kept getting a lot lengthier and lengthier, but it needed to be part of the story because that is part of Byron's story. And all of these, components were part of his, part of his chapters and constellations, I would say. Yeah. So they're all activated, they're all interconnected because it's part of his life. And they were very significant. People sometimes coming in and out or through his story had their own stories, had their own meaning that I think were also important and part of influencing him or influencing them. And that's that's part of the index of the book as well, where it shows a lot of these connections and their significance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brother Byron, talk about sharing this story at this time and what you hope that the communities and international communities, domestic communities of young activists or just young people want to know about struggle. What does it mean to you to, kind of share your life as an example of that? And what do you hope to get from it in terms of the public's reactions, especially young activists?
Yeah, well, actually, I wasn't very interested in all of that. I mean, when I met William, like he was just saying, in Peru, the Panther Party had some influence there. I didn't know that. I'm just learning that now, listening to him. And when I met him and began to know him, I was amazed that he knew so much about the Panthers and a number of other Black personalities and people. And he wasn't really, I don't think, looking for celebrity status or to be well known. He just wanted to do a work. And that endeared me to him. And the work he was doing wasn't just writing a book, it was a piece of artwork. And that really blew my mind. I mean, he was doing something different. Of course, he was writing about the Panthers, he was writing about me, but it was more or less in an art form. And I was very interested in that. And he was very sincere in what he was doing and the questions he was asking me and the way his demeanor towards me. I mean, I realized I was talking to a brother, somebody I could trust. And there were very few people I've met in life that I could just really trust. You can trust them to an extent, and that's it. Beyond that, people cannot be trusted. But I found I could trust William. I wasn't worried about how he would write or what he would do. I was talking to a brother. So in terms of what I hope to do with the story or with my life, I wasn't very interested in that. I mean, I had sacrificed a whole lot just to get where I was. In prison, I had been arrested with a woman. She was my girlfriend. I was very much in love with her. She came to visit me in Soledad prison while I was there. And I told her we were through, we were finished. Don't ever come to visit me again. I didn't want to see her. That's because I was planning an escape, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to see her after I escaped. So I gave that up. Then escaping, hijacking an airplane, I knew from then on my life would be in danger from enemies. That I might not ever be able to raise a family, have children, that I might be killed at any time. So I was willing for that. In fact, I had kind of romanticized the whole thing, reading Che Guevara. I mean, that really romanticized me. I was ready to die for the revolution, thinking my sacrifice would be of a big help to people. Of course, later I outgrew that. But the fact is, in the beginning, I had felt I was giving up everything in my life just to pursue the path I was on. Then by the time I met William and we started talking, I was no longer interested in those things. I was no longer a romantic about it. I got very practical. And at my age, I figured, well, it's time for me to relax and just start living, because I haven't been living. Right. I haven't been seeing things from a man who's taking it easy. I had to stop looking over my shoulder. At the time, I was living on the streets. I didn't have a place to stay, but I was comfortable where I was. When William asked to do this and I seen the direction he was heading, I didn't mind to go along with it because of him. I wanted to see him do it and get something done. It wasn't for myself. I mean, there were other people that asked me to do this. And recently, just this month, someone asked me to do something like this with them. I told them I was not interested. I wasn't interested in doing it. I wasn't interested in the money. I wasn't interested in I wasn't interested in being famous for anything. I just want to live and take it easy and see the rest of the few years of my life real cool. You know, I just hope William all the success possible.
Absolutely. Now, before we talk about Cuba or the international section, because I thought that was one of the most pivotal eras in terms of potential for revolutionary support and global revolution. That time it was an era of what they call skyjack or hijacking, and illustrated in books like the Skies Belong to Us, and certainly Brother William Lee Brent, I think his name was. He talked about his journey from Oakland all the way to Havana. I wanted to ask you, Brother Byron, I mean, really kind of go over that decision and then that day, where, you booked tickets to go to Florida from LAX. And thing is, describe some of the circumstances that made you successful to get to Cuba, and then of course, William, I'd like you to kind of fill in some of the details of that if you can. Well, even breaking down that more, like that whole process, because it takes a lot of bravery to get that done. Yeah.
Well, to me, it was very easy. I didn't see anything difficult about it. I got outside of prison. I waited at a spot where there was a tree and a little shrubbery I could hide behind. Other than that, there were open fields there. So this was one of the few places that I was able to hide behind. It was close to the road. And I had told the person picking me up that to drive past that road, when they seen a shoe in the road, which I meant a prison boot in the road, I would be there. They should stop and pick me up. Of course, the first time they drove by, they didn't see it. It took them about 6 or 7 minutes to make a round and come back again. They stopped, picked me and Robert Clinton Smith. He was the guy with me when I escaped. He picked us up. He had a change of clothes for us, money, weapons, and took us to LA International Airport. We had changed clothes in the car. We bought a ticket to Miami. There was no guards like it is today at the airport. There was no, what is it, TSA? There was no such thing as TSA then. Everything was clear. We bought a ticket. I got a boarding pass. I walked, the plane was loading. I walked and got on the plane. On the way there, we were quite comfortable. The plane had a stopover in Houston, Texas. I told Clinton Smith, I said, look, let's get out. Let's walk around, see the duty-free shop. We've been in prison all these years. Now let's walk around and taste a little freedom.
Cool.
Well, we walked into the duty-free shop, and there were these two huge Texas police officers, looked like two huge rednecks, and they were eyeballing us. I told Clinton, we better get up back on the plane. So we got back on the plane left. When the pilot announced that we were approaching Miami and we'd be landing in several minutes, I got up, went to the little place where the stewardess prepare snacks or whatever, and told her I needed some water. When she turned around to get the water, I put a gun in the back and said, let's go to the cabin. Clinton Smith was behind me, watching my back. We got in the cabin. I wasn't nervous at all. It was just, in fact, it was just routine to me. We got in, I told the pilot, we're taking over this plane, that we're going to Cuba. I could see out of the window of the plane the outline of the U.S. And Florida, so I knew where we were.
So you didn't get Miami and Havana mixed up or nothing, right?
No, not at all. I knew exactly where we were. In fact, it had crossed my mind to stop by the White House, drop in on the White House. But I figured that wouldn't be a good idea. If I was going to fight a revolution, I needed to be alive and not dead.
Right.
Anyway, we went on to Cuba. When the plane landed, the pilot couldn't get a landing in Havana. We were directed to Camagüey. That's in the middle of Cuba. When the plane landed, Army troops ran out and circled the plane. There were two circles around the plane of Army troops. Two officers came on board. Actually, it was three officers came on board. We never left the cabin of the airplane. They came into the cabin, asked us to surrender our weapons and to follow them. As we were leaving the plane from the captain's office into the body of the plane, all the passengers stood up, started clapping and cheering us, which I found surprising. You know, I mean, they were so happy and they're clapping and cheering. Some of them were jumping up and down. As we descended the plane, I looked over across the airport. There were huge crowds of people all over. Some even crowded all on top of the building of the airport. They were shouting and clapping, and like we were some great heroes. I mean, all I did was hijack a plane to get out the U.S.
Okay.
I thought we would be treated quite well. They took us into the airport, questioned us for a while, then took us somewhere else, which was much quieter. Started questioning us. They brought a truck, put us in a truck. We couldn't see outside of the truck. They took us somewhere, drove for about 25, 30 minutes, took us to a prison and locked us in a prison and interrogated us for about 3 weeks, every single day for about 8 hours. You can imagine I was really pissed off. I mean, they were treating us like we had came there to harm them. I kept asking why we were being treated this way. I couldn't get an answer. But finally, after a couple of weeks, one of the officers told me that they didn't know who we were. We could be anybody coming in saying that we were hijackers and actually be agents working for the U.S. government as a way to infiltrate Cuba. Finally, they got convinced that we were not that we were truly hijackers. How they got convinced, I don't know, but I think they'd done their research in the U.S. They were trying to figure out where to place us. I was placed in a farm area where they inseminated cattle. It's called the Artificial Insemination Center. Clinton Smith was taken to a plantation where they cut sugar cane. And I didn't like where I was at. And I'm sure Clinton didn't like it either, where he was at. But this is what the Cuban government asks of us to do. After being there a couple of weeks at this artificial insemination place, I got fed up because I got sick. Mosquitoes got me sick. I was being bitten hundreds of times at night, sleeping there. I had a kidney infection. I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks. After I got out of the hospital, I just left. I just walked out one evening and started walking towards Santiago de Cuba, which is at the southern tip of Cuba, just before you get to Guantanamo. Several miles into the journey, I started looking for the sugarcane plantation where Clinton would be. And somebody told me there was a sugarcane plantation a few miles down the road. I finally got there about 2, 3 in the morning and found Clinton asleep in some rundown piece of shack. Told him to get up and let's go. He got up, we headed to Santiago de Cuba. We hitchhiked. We finally got there, and it wasn't to our liking at all.
All right. And William, I'd like to bring you in terms of, what Byron has just talked about as he was telling you these stories. And of course, eventually you put it in the book. What were some of your thoughts about that? And, and how you were going to document it in this publication in terms of his own journey and what he went through.
Well, my approach first was to think about autobiography of Malcolm X and how it's he didn't write it, but he told it to Alex Haley, and Alex Haley transcribed it as he plainly spoke. And so that was the approach that I had. I simply took out my my questions from the transcription and only included what Byron shared, and then I contextualized some of the parts because there's so much history there. And that was basically it. But I needed to elaborate on many things, not only in Cuba or thereafter, but before that. A lot of the history, for example, there's between 1968 and 1972, there were over 400 hijackings. In relation to Cuba, there was about 70 to 80 hijackings between 68 and 72. There were over 24 Black Panthers, specifically hijacked planes to Cuba.
Didn't they even set up a hijack house? I think William Lee Brent talked about a hijack house.
Yeah. The hijack Hilton was also a place where they put hijackers. That was set up around that time when Byron William Lee Brent arrived there after Cleaver had left, after Byron, after Raheem left. Later on, a lot more, I would say, Black Panthers that were Black Panthers in the U.S. started using Cuba as a way to get to Algiers or other countries. Some settled there, but mostly just used it as a stopping point. Yeah. What was the other part of the question?
Oh, the other part of the question was, as you were documenting Byron's experience, I mean, it had to seem like a movie. I feel like it just that because extraordinary circumstances. Certainly, it was the era of revolutionary activity and fervor, and to what even though he described it it wasn't really a bold thing or just a thing to do or that he was motivated to do, but you have to say, wow, that's it took a lot of courage, at least from my perspective, and dedication to make sure it happened. So I just wanted to kind of see how you really nailed it in terms of the narrative that you put in the book, and just coming away with after everything was done in the book and how you were able to help Byron tell the story. That's what I want to kind of get at, and of course Byron can chime in as well.
Well, I want to add one thing is that one thing that is not really in the know is that Byron is a writer, and he was writing reports while in Cuba and Algiers to the Central Committee in the West Coast, the Black Panther Party Central Committee. And these were, I'm not sure if they were weekly or monthly, but they were lengthy reports that he would write and then transcribe or read onto an audio reel-to-reel tape. And these were sent to the U.S. And these are reports about day-to-day events, weekly events, with a lot of detail. And these were, I don't know if any of them, but I had asked them. Emory University in Atlanta.
Kind of getting a little choppy.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Hey, but let me say this. William, seemed to me, William's greatest effort was in researching all of this, I was amazed that he could come up with these things and find out things that I had forgotten about, things that I didn't think very few people even knew about. I mean, he'd come up with it. There was somebody that was very close with me when he was doing this book that I was consulting with, Professor Karen Stanford. And she was quite amazed too at how he could research all of these things. She was used to doing a lot of research herself, but she had said she never had met anyone that could research like William. I mean, he'd find things that I didn't even know existed, and come up with pictures too, It was really amazing, I don't know how you did it, William.
Yeah, explain that process, William, because I know that, with Billy X. Jennings and others, I mean, you had to compile so much information for the book. Talk about that process.
Well, I think that starts at home. And researching my own family background. There's a lot of things the family, both sides, don't speak about, still don't speak about. And nothing to be ashamed of, but from their perspectives, from that generation, they may not, their opinions and perspectives differ. And so I slowly try to uncover some of my family, my father and mother's side's history, their origins, their members, who did what. I wanted to know how we're shaped as human beings, as family members, what influenced us, things like that. Where does this inspiration come from? Why am I motivated to do certain things? Just stuff like that, because we had no real knowledge, especially after we left Peru in the mid 70s. We were pretty much cut off. And so as a child, you start asking questions, but then I was also pretty much a loner. So I spent a lot of time disciplining myself, doing research on family, and then on other things. Just became very inquisitive. But it's also important for me to contextualize things, my family, and also just topics that I was drawn to. Byron's life stories, he wrote himself. I mean, he audio taped and he wrote and audio taped his first month in a Cuban prison when he and Rahim first arrived, or Clinton Smith, to Cuba. And there's many other audio recordings there. So it's there's a lot of evidence there of what he thought, how he felt during those years, which is very rare because I haven't seen anybody else record in such detail their experiences, not only in Algiers, but specifically Cuba. Because
And also, I was about to say that I wanted Byron to discuss his time in Cuba and then eventual arrival in Algiers and how that process worked out.
Yeah, it was. I still think about that sometimes. There was some problems we had in Cuba. One of the problems was Eldridge Cleaver. He was so busy chasing women. I think he chased a few of the wrong women in Cuba, and it brought about some bad feelings. To the person that was sort of a liaison between us and the security apparatus in Cuba, a young man named Jesus Jimenez. He was G2. We had a meeting one night. I think there were 7 of us present. One of the persons present was not an actual member of the Black Panther Party, We wanted him to be a member, but we were very reluctant because his behavior was a bit uncontrollable. Anyway, during this meeting with Jesus, he said something, and he ended up telling Jesus, "Well, fuck you, Jesus." And Jesus got very annoyed at that. I mean, he was an officer in the army, and he wasn't used to taking insults. He stood up. Um, when he came in, he had taken his gun out and placed it under the sofa he was sitting on. After this guy said this, he got up, got his gun, put it in his waist. He stood there for a minute, and there was a piece of lettuce work, shells where you put knickknacks on. He turned around and punched it. Unfortunately, even though it was painted and it looked like it was made out of wood, it was made out of iron, and it didn't give. And when he punched it, there was a loud bam, and he broke the bones in his wrists and in his arms. And he didn't he didn't let out a scream or yell anything. He just gritted his teeth, turned around, and walked out of the apartment. And took the elevator, went down, and left. I imagine when he got in his car, he let out one hell of a yell. Anyway, that put us in a real bad situation with G2 in Cuba. Eventually, they wanted us out of Cuba. They wanted us gone from Cuba. So it was arranged for us to go to Syria. How all of this came about is still a bit of a mystery. But the plane that took us from Cuba, we all had Cuban passports, by the way. The plane that took us from Cuba to go to Syria had a stopover in Algiers. That was the last plane to land at that airport, and the airport was closed after that. So we had to stay in Algiers for the next plane. But in the meantime, while we were there, the Korean ambassador to Algeria and some of his aides came to the airport to meet us and asked us to stay in Algiers, that they would give us diplomatic support and financial support, which was not only amazing, but quite timely, because that's exactly what we needed. So we were able to stay in Algiers. We got, Eldridge got an apartment at the edge of town. Myself and the rest of us got an apartment in an area called Belcourt, which was an area of Algeria when the French had colonized Algeria. There were only two places in Algiers that the indigenous people were allowed to live. The rest of it was for the French. Well, the two places that they were allowed to live, one was called the Casbah and the other was called Belcourt. And we were living in the Belcourt, which was all right. I didn't mind it. It gave us a chance to get a bit close to the people there, and the living wasn't bad. But Algiers was quite different from Cuba, real different. Cuba was very open, very relaxed. Algiers was very Islamic, very Islamic.
Okay.
In fact, conservatives were sometimes killing radicals. They would find him with their head cut off. A woman alone on the streets at night after 10 o'clock would certainly be killed. A young lady coming home telling her parents that she was pregnant and she wasn't married, in all probability would be taken into the desert and buried. So the society was quite different in Algiers than it was in Cuba. But we found in Algiers all the struggling movements in Africa against the colonialists. They had offices there. Angola, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, etc., etc. All of those movements had offices in Algiers, and it ended up that the work of the party in Algiers was actually being liaisons between these different movements, carrying messages and relaying messages, appointments, etc. So we were pretty busy doing. Actually, I should say, I was pretty busy doing that.
Okay. All right. And Brother William, I'd like to bring you in terms of the international presence of the International Black Panther Party and how it's being looked at now closely, because usually we just get stories about the Chicago, LA, New York and other places in terms of domestic, but the international is being looked at. What do you think about that? And what do you think people can learn from especially the great potential of the international section of the Black Panther Party?
Well, so there's a lot of strengths and weaknesses in the situations that Byron and other activists, revolutionaries were in at the time of when he arrived in Cuba and in Algiers, because we're also talking about during the infancy stage after the Cuban Revolution. Mm-hmm. That's not even 10 years. And the same for the Algerian independence, which was in 1962. So a lot of times when you have governments or nations forming, you're gonna have a lot of situations where there's this extremism still, or policies that are still being generated and created. That makes it a lot more unstable for people who are not of that society. There was a lot of struggles in the international section in Algiers. Byron was and the other Panthers were definitely part of the foundation. It didn't become the international section until 1970. It didn't become established like that until after Byron had left Algiers. But there's one thing that I wanted to say about it is that the international section was also responsible for creating using technology, video recordings. They started using early video cameras. This is 1970, 71, to convey messages, because if anyone is familiar with COINTELPRO, the FBI counterintelligence program, and how they would infiltrate, disrupt the party, not only the Black Panther Party, but all activist organizations, was through fake mail. Let me pause there for a second.
And William, I grew up in Miami, so I'm used to that sound.
Yeah, that's not here, though. I think that's LA.
Malik, I'd like to ask you something. With the this information. I mean, I haven't talked this much about myself since I spoke with William. William is saying a lot of things, and so am I. What are you going to ultimately do with this information?
Well, what I do is, I've conducted around maybe 80, 90 interviews already, and I share it with the public so they can kind of decide for themselves the information, whether it's motivating, it's informative, pretty much just to get the word out about, who people are and them telling their story. So that's why I created the platform to do that. So this is about my 85th interview.
And what method will you use to disseminate this information? I mean,
so
how
basically,
will
like say a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel as well. I have different social media networks that I post to as well.
Uh-huh. Okay, your name is Malik. What is the last name?
Ishmael, Ismail.
Yes, Ishmael.
Yeah.
Are you a Muslim?
Yes, I am.
Sunni Muslim?
But I'm like I say, I'm a Sunni Muslim by declaration. And again, like I say, we're like I say, I guess converted when I was pretty young, but in terms of if you see me drinking, it's just that I have a health issue right now, so that's why I'm breaking my fast.
Okay.
Yes. So I hope I answered all your questions.
Why are you fasting?
Well, I do spiritual fast and also mental fast to kind of get my body back in line, and I have a few health things I'm dealing with right now. So oftentimes just to put less in your body where your body got to work, and I pretty much have that reason for just
Okay.
trying to do these.
Understand. Yes. All right.
As well as Ramadan. Yes.
Well, that answers my question. William, let me ask you, how have you been doing? We haven't spoken in a while, but how is your family? How are the folks there in Miami?
Things are good. Yeah, just staying on top of things with family, with parents. Yeah, just trying to keep things balanced.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And we got about 2 more questions that I want to definitely get in before we sign off. Again, where can people pick up this incredible book? Where can they get this?
They can get it on Name Publications' website. Name Publications is a nonprofit book publishing company based in South Florida. They also have a store there, but they can look it up in any search engine. Just Name as it is, NAME Publications, and Byron's book is going to be right there. Yeah, it's
okay. And this is going to be for both. Well, first of all, I want to know where did you get the name, Byron? Where did you get the name? Is it Muizi or Muezi? I was wondering that about the name and what it means.
That name I used when I escaped from prison into Cuba. It's pronounced Umwezi. Actually, in a West African language, in the Igbo language, Umwezi is son of a chief or son of a king. But I use it, it has another meaning. Umwezi. Hey, I can't even remember what the other meaning was that I used it for.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really use it too long. I changed to a nom de guerre, which I used was Hijo de la Luna, which is son of the moon. I used for a nom de guerre. William, you're laughing.
Okay. All right.
Because your accent is dead on. Yeah.
Yeah. But I later changed that name again. When I met the representative of MPLA, Jorge, I think his name was Jorge da Silva. I'm not sure. He later became Minister of Information of MPLA when they got their independence. I met him when I was in Cuba. So I started using the name Ernesto from Ernesto Che Guevara and Jorge from the Minister of Information of Angola. So I was using the name Ernesto Jorge. Yeah, that man from MPLA was very influential upon me because when I met him, I told him my purpose, my secondary purpose of coming to Cuba, if I couldn't get with Che Guevara, my purpose was to continue my journey onto onto Angola. Yeah. My plane, I didn't have a plane ticket. He gave me a ticket from Cuba that would take me through to Tanzania, to Arusha. From there, I would have to find a flight from Arusha to Angola. That was the ticket I used when I left Algiers. I used that ticket to go to Egypt, from Egypt to Nigeria. From Nigeria, I was to catch a plane to go to Arusha. And I got delayed in Nigeria.
Okay. For 30 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I have a second to last question for both of you. What are the your future plans and projects that you would like to discuss, and how can people support your efforts?
William, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, we're still trying to do some more book presentations with Byron, hopefully in the West Coast, East Coast too. And I started working and researching the Young Lords of the Black Panther Party while I was a student museum in 2005, and I never stopped. So this publication was a long process of almost 20 years, but within that time, I also started doing research on Latino Black Panther members, whether they were of African descent or not. And so I'm working on a publication and a video documentary as well. How can people support? Read Byron's book. It's a story of struggle, liberation, transformation. Unnamed publication. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And in terms of you, Byron, what do you have? Oh, go ahead.
Say that again, please. Will you repeat that?
Yeah, I was just saying, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, yeah, I was just saying, did you want to add on to what William said? In terms of some things you have looking forward to and or what you... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, out of all of this, I would just like Black people that are aware to try and get closer to the Latino community and the Native American community so that we could coalesce as one against what's happening in the U.S. I mean, there should be a greater communication between the communities. It should have been a long time ago. But as of now, it really should really increase between the Latino community, Black community, and the Native American community. I think that's kind of important these days. That's about all I wanted to add to that, to what William was saying.
Okay, all right. William, did you want to follow up in that same regard in terms of just bringing together people, especially around, the current climate? Did you want to kind of add on to that?
No, I think Byron's book is a good example of coalition building. There are different strategies in there. One reason why I was influenced by the Black Panther Party because of their willingness to cross certain boundaries, nations, geographies, and be relatable. There was a lot of articles about Peru or people writing into the Panther newspaper between 1968 and 1980 that were coming from all over the parts of the world, and I think those are important examples that because otherwise humans easily isolate themselves. We assume we only have struggle, and that's our own individual struggle, but it's actually an international struggle. So I think the example, the Panther Party, of the Panther Party, is to me an ideal example. And Byron coming from also part of that history.
Well, again, I really want to thank both of you for coming on my show and helping people contact you, speaking engagements, opportunities, and to follow you on social media or a website if you have a website available to share.
I'm only on Facebook. Yeah, I'm sorry, Byron.
As far as me, contact me, I think it would be at present. Contact me through William, a name publication. Later, I'll make it more available to contact me directly. But I wanted to ask you, how would I contact you?
Oh, certainly. I can definitely give you my information. William can share my information and get my information for you.
Please have it text or email to me, please.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
And then you, brother William?
I only use Facebook, but people can contact me through that or name publications as well online. Yeah.
Well, again, I want to thank both of you for coming on today. It's been a very heavy study, if you will. And again, I want to thank both of you for producing this book. I got through it, and I tell you, it's quite amazing. And I want to tell everyone out there to get this book and definitely support Byron and William in that regard. So again, I want to thank both of you for coming on, and I'll be talking to you real soon.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Malik. Nice talking to you, brother. I hope we can talk again in the future more.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you too as well, William. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right.
All power to the people.
All right now.
You folks have a good day. Bye.